Welcome to our emergency department video on placement and management of an EVD. This is Papa. He had a massive brain bleed, and now the neurosurgeon would like us to place an EVD. I'm going to go over with you some of the steps we should take to get everything set up. First, I'm going to make sure that the head of the bed is raised to at least 30 degrees. Many times the neurosurgeon likes it higher than that. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure that my patient has adequate pain control and sedation on board. Next, I'm going to run to the ICU 4000 room and get the green neuro card. All right, I've got the green neuro card from the 4000 room in the ICU. I'm going to get that set up near the patient. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure I have a pole ready to go that I'm going to place the drain on. I'm also going to get a bedside table that we can place the cranie kit on for the neurosurgeon to work. In addition to that, I'm going to need a pressure monitoring cable, which can be found in this cabinet right here. And I'm also going to need a preservative-free saline flush. It does not need to be a sterile flush. One of our regular flushes from the cart works just fine. Next, we're going to get a few things out of the green neuro cart here. Most of what we need is going to be located in this bottom drawer. Within here, we have the cranie kit for the neurosurgeon, which I'm going to place over here on a bedside table for them. And then I'm also going to get out an AccuDrain. This is going to be set up on the IV pole. I'll also need a transducer for the patient, which can be found in the same drawer. This will be attached to the drain. In addition to that, the neurosurgeon may need some sterile supplies such as sterile gloves or a sterile gown. All of those things are located in the second to last drawer if they should need it. In addition to that, for securement of the EVD once it's placed, there are sutures for the neurosurgeon to use. All right, everything's set up. The neurosurgeon is here. We are ready to drill. Make sure you have the proper PPE, such as bouffant and mask, as well as gloves. For the purposes of comedic relief, we are going to be using a regular IO drill for this procedure, but just know in real life, it's going to be this hand crank drill that the neurosurgeon will be using. While the neurosurgeon is drilling, you can get your drain set up. All right, now we're going to go over setting up the drain. Again, you're going to need an AccuDrain box, which we got out of the green neuro cart, as well as a transducer, also from the green neuro cart. In addition to that, we have our preservative-free saline flush. From here, we're going to open up the box, and within the box, you're going to see a level and the actual drain setup. We're going to open this up. And first we're going to attach it to our pole. All right, so step one is going to be attaching your drain to your pole. There are several fail-safes built into your drain, one of which are these little latches here. First thing you're going to do is undo these latches from the clamps. Then you're going to take this side lever and use this to open the clamps and attach it to your pole. Once you're attached to your pole, you can take these little white guys and secure them in. Your next fail-safe is this string. You can place this around the top of your IV pole and then tighten it. From there, we're ready to add our transducer as well as our level. The level attaches to the little hole here on the side, and I'll show you how to do that. This little white part just pops right in the hole there until you hear a click. The next thing you're going to do is get your transducer, and your transducer is going to be attached right here where you see this red cap. From there, you're going to take your transducer and tighten it in to this area. All right, now that our transducer is hooked up to the drain, we're ready to prime our drain. And again, I want to make it really clear that we are only priming the drain side of this. We never want to prime anything into the patient's brain or push anything into the patient's brain. So it's very important to make sure that you have the stopcocks turned the correct direction prior to doing this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go off to the patient, and we're going to attach our saline to the end of the transducer. Then we're going to remove to atmosphere and prime through that. Then I'm going to replace the cap with one of our red caps out of the IV carts. Red caps on. Now we're ready to prime through the rest of the drain. Now I'm going to take my stopcock and go off to atmosphere, and I'm going to make sure that I'm off to the patient's brain. An easy way to remember which side is going to the patient's brain is that there's a green line running through this portion of the tubing, off to the patient's brain. All right, now I'm ready to prime through the rest of the drain. I'm going to make sure that my stopcock is off to the bag. I'm going to prime through the rest of my system here, making sure that there are no air bubbles. You'll begin to see fluid collecting in the drain. And once you've primed through your system and made sure there's no air bubbles, now you can drain the remaining fluid into the bag. Once I drain the remaining fluid into the bag, I always make sure to again turn my stopcock off, and that way I can keep accurate hourly outputs of the patient's drainage. Once I've completed priming the system, I'm going to turn my stopcock off to the priming area, and I'm going to replace that with another fresh red cap from the IV cart. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is ask the neurosurgeon at what settings they would like the drain. Make sure that you find out your units of measurement as well, because as you can see, millimeters of mercury and centimeters of water are very different. In order to change the settings on your drain, you're going to squeeze these two wings, and you can move the drain up or down depending on what settings they would like it set at. Many times the neurosurgeon will take care of doing this, but it's important to know how to do it just in case you'll be responsible for it. The next thing we're going to have to do is level the device to the patient's tragus. The way that we do this is we take this ring and hold it tight to the patient's tragus here, and then move either our device or the patient until the bubble is in the middle of the level. In this particular case, we're going to put the patient down a little bit, and now it looks like we are level.
Okay.
All right, now that the neurosurgeon is ready for the device, all we have to do is hand over the patient side of the device, which has the green line running through the tubing. Now we're hooked up, ready to go. The neurosurgeon would like us to drain CSF at this point. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to take our stopcock and go off to the transducer. The EVDs do allow us to also measure ICP, but you can never do the two things at the same time. You have to choose one or the other in that moment. So for draining ICP, we're off to the transducer, and now we're draining CSF. And every hour, we should be taking an accurate output of how much output there has been from the patient. And at the hour mark, we can open to the bag and drain. This hub right here will never be used by us. This is a CSF sampling port that is only used by the neurosurgeons or the PAs from the neurosurgery office. Next, we're going to learn how to measure ICP. Next, we're going to plug our pressure cable into our monitor. Typically, these types of procedures happen in the trauma room. In order to do this correctly in our trauma room, make sure that you're plugging this cable into the bottom monitor and not the top here. This is going to just be gently inserted where it says press for pressure. And from there, you'll see the pressure come up onto the screen. This particular pressure section is saying art line. What we're going to be doing here is measuring ICP. So in order to do that, we need to change the label. I'll show you how to do that. First, you're going to touch right here, and then where it says label, press again, and change to ICP. Now you'll notice a different color will come up on your screen to indicate that it's measuring ICP. Next, we need to get our transducer open to atmosphere in order to ensure that we are getting an accurate measurement for zeroing our patient. In order to do that, we are going to go off to our patient, aka off to draining. Then we're going to go again off to the system. From here, we are going to remove the cap that's to atmosphere, and from there, we're ready to zero. Again, it's imperative that you made sure that this device is leveled to the patient's tragus. To zero, we're going to press right here in this box. Then we're going to go to the section that says zero ICP. We're going to press it you'll hear one beep, like you just heard, and then you get a second beep, and that indicates that your line is zeroed. From there, you are now ready to measure ICP. In order to do that, we're going to take a new red cap from the IV cart, place it to our device here. We're going to take our stopcock, and we're going to go off to the drain, and that way we ensure that there's a clear line from the transducer to the patient's brain. And from there, we're now ready to measure ICP. You will see a measurement come up on the screen once you've done that. Again, you're not able to measure ICP and drain CSF at the same time. When you switch back and forth between the two, you need to make sure to re-zero and re-level each time. How not to kill someone when they have an EVD. The main thing that we should do here in the emergency department is any time at all that we move the patient, whether that's repositioning, whether that's transporting them to a different unit, whether that's putting their head up or down, whether that's changing their linens, any type of movement of the patient at all, we need to turn the drain off to the patient. It's very easy to drain off too much CSF if you have now changed the patient's position and the drain is not level with the patient's tragus anymore. When you're transporting to a different unit, changing the patient, moving the patient at all, if you turn the drain off to the patient, you can do everything that you need to do. Once you're ready to get the patient settled again, just re-level to the patient's tragus, and then you can turn your drain back on. That's all there is to setting up an EVD. If in doubt, always feel free to call Rapid. They're a lot more comfortable with these than we are. Also, ICU can be a great resource and wealth of knowledge for us. You can do it. Don't doubt yourself. I believe in you, and I know you can do this.